Kelly here. Have you ever invested so much time and energy learning a foreign language? You understand a good amount, but after years you still struggle to speak it fluently. If so, then you need to give up now. Wait, I'm only joking. Listen on, because I'm going to be giving you some tips that have helped me to get past what we call the intermediate plateau and move towards fluency. And in the last part of the video, I'm going to be giving you some bonus ideas for working on your speaking that are a little less scary and don't require another person to be present at the time. I can definitely relate to this problem of spending years learning but not being able to speak. I learned French from 11 years old to 16 years old at school, and then again for another 3 years as an adult. And although I can understand a fair amount, I cannot speak it beyond a very basic tourist vocab, which ensures that I will always be able to find a toilet and know which platform the train to Paris is leaving from. After talking to many other language learners, it appears that this is a very universal problem, particularly amongst those learning at school or through traditional language lessons, and particularly amongst those educated in the British school system. How is this possible, you might ask? I thought you Brits all speak at least 3 languages. Perhaps you, Kelly, just have some kind of block with languages that means you'll never be able to speak them. Well, no, because in 3 years I've taught myself to speak Afrikaans to a high level. This got me thinking about why I've been able to do this in Afrikaans and in such a short space of time, but not in French. I also asked other successful foreign language learners how they had learned to speak. The one thing that stuck out above everything else was that it's not how much you study or about having more lessons. It's about what you're doing in your lessons or study time. If you are already having 1 lesson a day, you definitely do not need more lessons. Instead, you need to be looking at what you're doing in your lessons. Most lessons focus on the grammar of the language. Whilst grammar is important, working solely on grammar will not help you to speak better. If you want to be better at speaking a language, the only way to do that is to speak the language. I know, it's really scary. But I don't have any more time to put into my language learning, I hear you say. I know you've already heard a dozen times about listening to podcasts on the go or looking through flashcards whilst you're waiting for your coffee. So, I'm not going to be giving you any of that advice. This advice can be used by anyone, but it's especially good if you're a busy entrepreneur or self-employed person like myself, who always feels that they need to be contributing to their bigger goals with anything that they spend their time on. So the first and easiest suggestion is, could you change up some of your language lessons to be conversation practice sessions? If you are already at a good intermediate level, the chances are that you don't need to learn more vocab or grammar to improve your speaking skills. You need to be practicing speaking. So make conversation the focus of your lessons and use it as a vehicle to understand more complex grammar. The easiest way to do this is to approach your current language teacher and ask them to make your lessons conversation focused. Most teachers love it when learners take control of their own learning, but if you have a stickler of a teacher and they don't like this, then find a native speaker to practice with. I like the website italki.com because I can browse their database for language partners, community tutors and teachers all around the world. I actually use my tutors mostly for conversation practice because I like to do the actual learning of the language by myself, mainly because I've worked out how I learn best. The best tip I can give you on this is to try to speak to the same 1 or 2 people. The reason for this is that when we meet someone for the first time, whether it's in a language we are learning or in our native language, we repeat the same conversations around getting to know someone. If you already know that person, you get those conversations out of the way, and then you can go deeper into more complex conversations that you would have in your native language around topics and issues that you're interested in, and that's what's going to help further your speaking. You also need to start increasing the amount of natural interaction you have with the language outside of your language lessons or study sessions if you are studying by yourself. This is the part that most of us, including myself, don't do enough of because it takes a lot more effort and time and we're all busy. And it's scary. It's much faster and less stressful to do things in your native language, but the reality is that everyone who I've spoken to who now speaks a foreign language fluently, or at least at an advanced level, has said that they learnt to speak because they had to communicate with other people. So, as unpleasant and time-consuming as this sounds, you need to force yourself to use the language with native speakers. I don't just mean speaking to the shop assistant. I'm assuming you can already do that. I mean having the types of conversations and interactions and doing the types of things that you would do in your native language. Here are a few suggestions to start you thinking. Say you are a busy English-speaking entrepreneur living in Berlin. Your work is all in English, but you're trying to learn German. Could you start to attend some entrepreneur meetups in German as well as in English? Or could you start an exciting new side project in German that could add to your existing business in some way? Perhaps partnering with a native German speaker to do this. But have the rule that all communication must be in German only and do not revert to English. Or could you give talks in your local community in German in your area of expertise? This could also open up new avenues in your business. If you're living in Spain and you like volunteering, could you volunteer with local groups? The chances are in these groups that English will not be the main language spoken. Or if you're into education, could you volunteer in schools where the level of English spoken would not be that high, forcing you to have to communicate in Spanish? If you make videos, record podcasts, or write for a living, could you start to do a little of this in the language you're trying to learn, rather than in English? Of course, it would take a little more time at first, and I know that's frustrating, but it could lead to some exciting new work opportunities. These are just a few suggestions to get you started, but there's many, many more ways. Whatever you do, try to make it tick all the boxes of being productive, adding to your business or life in a positive way so it feels like you're building an asset and not just something that's slowing your work down, and most importantly, that it's fun for you to do. I found this means less time worrying about the extra time it takes me away from my normal work schedule. There are also other things that work well for practicing speaking that don't require another person to be present. The first one is to record a video or audio of yourself speaking. You can share this with your tutor or a native speaker for feedback, but it's also a useful exercise for you to do to work out where the holes in your vocabulary are and what types of grammar you struggle with. It could also be useful to share this with your teacher before a lesson, for them to work out a plan to best help with anything that is constantly tripping you up. The second one is writing. This has helped me personally a lot. I don't mean the type of writing you would do in a traditional language class, writing a sentence in the past tense, then in the present tense, then in the future tense. I mean writing like you would if you were writing a journal in your native language or a conversational letter to a friend. Writing gives you time to think in the language. It also helps you to find your own voice in a foreign language. I then take this writing to my language classes and work through it with my tutor on anything I'm struggling with. I always write about complex topics that I would in my native language, or conversations I would like to have to make sure I'm really pushing myself. That's everything for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have, give it a like down below and don't forget to subscribe. These are not the only suggestions, but they will hopefully get you started in thinking up ones of your own. If you'd like a little more help on this, or to find out more about the type of coaching that I do, you can head on over to my website www.fruitfulfunfluent.com, or feel free to email me at kelly@fruitfulfunfluent.com. That's everything for this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.